A self-confident salesperson is going to sell better every day of the week. So, you know, part of my job is to help turn you into a bigger, better, faster, stronger version of yourself. Better people sell better. So how can I make you, a more well-rounded person who believes in themselves? And I do that, the rest is going to kind of take care of itself.
Guys, welcome to the Close More podcast. This week, I have Scott Leese with me. He is the founder and CEO of a bunch of companies, and he's probably one of the biggest sales leaders on LinkedIn. I don't want to take up too much of your time, Scott, so please introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. I'm Scott Leese. I've been a VP of sales, head of sales, whatever you want to call it, a half dozen times. So I'm a startup sales leader. I kind of specialized in taking companies from 0 to 20, 25 million ARR or so. Built my own sales consulting firm, run a company called Surf and Sales, run another company called Thursday Night Sales, participate in a bunch of communities, an advisor to Rev Genius. Thursday Night Sales has a Slack community. I run my own Patreon community. I run the Surf and Sales podcast with my friend Richard Harris. And what else, man? I run Scotty's Little Sales Club on Patreon. I wrote 2 books. One's called Addicted to the Process. The other one is called From Rep to Manager. I stay busy. I serve as a strategic advisor and consultant to startup companies all around the world.
Amazing. I can't wait to pick your brain. It's going to be a great episode.
No, I hope I can deliver.
Let's talk a little bit more about your books and what was the philosophy behind those?
The first one, Addicted to the Process, I wrote because I felt like transactional sales was underrepresented and kind of disrespected niche of the sales world. And I got my start in transactional sales and made a good living and built a career out of it. And I wanted to let people know that they could do the same. And so that was part of the design. And then, just kind of telling my story a little bit, kind of how I got into sales, the mindset required to succeed, and then my selling, philosophy. And if you don't know me or my story, or you haven't read the book, I spent 4 years in the hospital in my early 20s, fighting for my life. I've had a number of different surgeries. Very fortunate to be here. Got addicted to opioids throughout that ordeal. So even once I got healthy and cured from the illnesses, had to go through, withdrawals and kick off dope and all this kind of stuff. So, just telling that story and, relating it to people who are just kind of getting their start in sales or people who need a refresher was really important to me. And so that was the impetus for the first book. And then the second book, From Rep to Manager, kind of similar. Like there's a hole in the market. Like there's God knows how many trainings and books and podcasts about how to be a good sales professional. There's a lot less about how to move from individual contributor to sales manager.
Yeah.
And really tactically and like what you should think about. And, we kind of decided to write honestly about the good and the bad and the ugly, so don't move into this role unless you really know you want it. So, it's for people who are thinking about going into sales leadership, not really sure how to get there, who want like a design on what to do, how to make that happen. So those are the 2 books.
Beautiful, and thank you for that. In terms of leadership, kind of staying on the rep to leader. Well, what's your philosophy behind leadership?
I mean, my job is to help you get where you want to go.
Yeah.
Period. And so I need to learn about you, figure out why you're here and what motivates you and what you're hoping to do with your life. And then I help you remove obstacles along the way. So I'm part motivator, part coach, part problem solver, part ass kicker. Whatever role I gotta play. And that's my job. My job is to create as many different people underneath me who could replicate me and steal my job tomorrow as possible. And if I've done that, I've done my job well.
Of course. And with that coaching and ass kicking that you do, I'm sure that comes along hand in hand with a lot of harsh truths.
Yeah, I've never been accused of being anything less than direct in my communication style and feedback. I was just having this conversation maybe 30 minutes ago, actually, and somebody said to me, you're a perfect leader for somebody who's at that place in their life where they're ready to make big changes and grow and develop, and they're serious about it. And you're a horrible person to work for somebody who just kind of wants to hang out and hide out and not really try to do anything special, because I have very little tolerance for people who are not trying to do something special with themselves in their life.
Oh no, I can definitely relate to that. It's good to surround yourself with people that are looking to be more than what they are today. And I could completely agree with you on that right there.
And the more people like that you have on your team, the better chance your team has for success. Right.
Absolutely. Especially if you guys are all focused on the same goal and everybody's moving towards that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Um, let's talk a little bit more about the mindset in sales and what they can do to really hone in on their skills. Like, how does mindset play a role in that?
Well, you mentioned skills, and I think the single most important thing for a salesperson is their confidence level.
Mhm.
You know, and so
Absolutely.
I spend a lot of time talking about that, trying to boost people's confidence, and try to make you bulletproof a little bit and change the way you think about things. Um, because a fragile or unconfident salesperson is not going to close deals. He's just
Yeah.
not going to be effective. So before I even can teach you skills of selling, I got to work on you. I got to work on your ability to, be resilient, to bounce back when things don't go the right way, to kind of strike when the moment is right and go for it, and tips and tactics and tricks to do so along the way. How you set goals, right? Who you associate with, what information sources do you consume every single day, how you think about things and the world, how you plan for things. All of these things kind of bleed into your mindset. And a self-confident salesperson is going to sell better every day of the week. So, part of my job is to help turn you into a bigger, better, faster, stronger version of yourself. Better people sell better. So how can I make you, a more well-rounded person who believes in themselves? And I do that, the rest is going to kind of take care of itself.
Of course. And that reminds me a lot of a book. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's called the Compound Effect. It's basically these incremental changes where you do something every single day and there's a compound effect to it.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot about what you're saying right now.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like I share the same philosophy. I've never read that, but I definitely agree with it.
Awesome, man. What do you see is the biggest opportunity in the sales world over the next 5 years? Like, where do you think it's headed? Is it all going to be online? Is it going to be a lot of virtual selling? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely think it's digital. I have a hard time thinking that we're going to go back to everybody going into the office full time. I have a hard time thinking that business travel will be the same as it was. Why would I spend, 2 hours getting to the airport and an hour waiting for my plane, sit on a 3-hour flight to take an hour cab ride for one meeting? It's like it's inefficient. So I don't think those kind of things are coming back.
Okay.
I also think that everybody is getting busier and busier, and more noise is coming at us all day long. So to cut through that noise is going to be increasingly difficult. So I think there's a diminishing return on emails and, social touches and phone calls and all this kind of stuff. So I think we're headed in a direction where people are going to have to team up and partner up to break into accounts, much more of this relationship and referral based kind of selling style and structure. For example, you're at iSales CRM.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I sell a different yet complementary product like Gong, for example, conversation intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are both trying to close the same account. And so maybe we team up and we share and swap ideas and contact info and something like that. I mean, I can see a world where collaboration and referral and network is going to be increasingly important. And then if I go really far out and get all sci-fi and like a little bit stoned on you, I mean, everybody says that humans will never be replaced by AI or by robots or whatever, and I'm like, why? Why not? I mean, I think we absolutely will be automated out of a job. I mean, at some point in time, robots or AI will have the ability to think on the fly, to understand human behavior and tonality and sentiment, and adjust. So I can see a world where that happens. Is that 5 years out? Probably not. Is that 15 years out? 50 years out? Now I start to get more serious with believing that that's a possibility.
Of course. No, and that's you bring up very valid points. Thank you for that.
Sure.
I did want to touch on one thing that I read on your LinkedIn a couple of days ago. I believe you were talking about lessons about a unicorn startup or lessons of scaling a unicorn startup. And I would love for you to touch on that. I felt like that was such an intriguing post for me. I wanted to hear a little bit more about if you can expand on the thoughts that you've already posted on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, I was just thinking, what did I write?
You were writing.
I write so much on there. I just don't have it all memorized. But the idea was, here's what I did at my last company, Qualia. The last time I was an operator was 2016 through 2019. So I was there for over 3 years. Went from 0 customers to, I don't remember, somewhere around 25 million ARR.
Wow.
And the company's worth almost $2 billion right now.
Wow.
Right. So it's a massive win, will be a massive win, I should say. So it was like, well, what are the things that I did right over there that would be interesting to share? And is there anything I did, maybe a little bit differently than other people? And there's a lot of things. I went after an old, antiquated, boring, and unsexy industry, this title insurance software, right? I invested heavily in sales ops and rev ops right from the jump. I pulled in people that I worked with before as my core kind of team and anchor tenants. I built a sales playbook right from day one. I had full cycle sales reps and did not do an AE SDR model.
Can you go a little bit more into that?
Sure. There's a lot of disadvantages to that model, especially if your price point is under, let's call it $50K annual. I think too many founders read predictable revenue one weekend and decided to, bake it into their sales motions. Like, why do I want AEs and SDRs on $1,000 contracts or less? Right? It adds organizational complexity. It adds potential discretion and complaining and whining and competition. Like the SDR blames the AEs for not being able to close. The AEs blame the SDRs for bad leads. Right?
And everybody blames the marketing team.
It also increases your customer acquisition costs. You're paying 2 people to do the same job. And maybe most important of all, it's a pretty lousy buying experience. If I'm a buyer, why do I want to talk to multiple different people?
Yeah.
If I build a relationship with you at the start, why can't I just keep working with you? I gotta go talk to Sam next. Like, why?
Exactly. And then a lot of companies, it's like the handoff isn't even right, because then the customer has to re-explain everything they already explained to the SDR. It's like, so why are we speaking today? I wouldn't be speaking to you if I didn't already explain it to somebody else.
It's just redundant, and I have a philosophical issue with like only teaching salespeople a part of the function of a salesperson. Like, I don't only want to teach you how to open an account.
Yeah.
If you're a salesperson and I'm a teacher, which I fundamentally believe about myself, my job is to teach you everything about how to be a good salesperson. And I'm not doing that. And in not doing that, I limit your opportunity to grow, whether it's here at my current company or wherever you go next. You know how many SDRs have gone to interviews trying to get AE roles and got denied? And these other companies were like, well, you don't have any closing experience,
Yeah.
Well, how the fuck am I supposed to get closing experience if I don't get a chance to close?
Or if I'm not even getting trained on the subject.
Yeah. So I have a problem with that. So, we had full cycle salespeople from the start. So I just put together a list of things and thought I'd share it. And yeah.
No, definitely. I love that. I definitely love that. And I guess it's the name of the show. So I'd love to ask you, how can reps close more deals?
So in general terms, in general terms, how can reps close more deals? They can work harder and work smarter. That is 100% in their control. So I would start there, start and end there.
Definitely.
There has never been a period of time with this much access to amazing resources to help you, whether that's a podcast like this or, thought pieces that you read online, whether they're blog posts or LinkedIn posts or whatever, to webinars, to, I run this Thursday Night Sales. This is the largest virtual sales happy hour in the world. Happens every single week. Like, you just have so much you can learn. And when I was coming up in sales, there was none of this. There wasn't any of this kind of shit. Like, who was I learning from? I had a Brian Tracy CD that I would play in my car. That was it.
Yeah.
So not taking advantage of all these resources that are out there just would tell me that you're not serious about being a really good, sales professional. So how can they close more? Get active. Start consuming these resources. Build relationships with people who have been there and done that, and are, in roles or have done things that you want to do one day. And just start learning from them, and outwork and outthink your competition along the way.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you, Scott. I really do appreciate your time today. Guys, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Close More podcast, sponsored by iSales CRM. We'll be talking to you guys next week, and hopefully we can get you and Glenn on one podcast where we could all just talk it out, hash it out.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott, and we'll see you guys next week.